Carers, Values of Assessment Study, University of Bristol. In 2011, there were an estimated 5.4 million unpaid informal carers in England, providing an estimated £55 billion worth of informal care and support.
The Care Act, now it's much more focal on the carer themselves and on ensuring that the relationship between the individual and that carer doesn't break down because of the burden of care.
My dad was 83 and had multiple medical conditions, varying cancers, ankylosing spondylitis, he had mobility problems and he was registered blind. I was his carer for 21 years, so I did everything for him. I ran his house, his cooking, cleaning, washing, finance, had to take him to a lot of hospital appointments and doctor's appointments. Also trying to get him to socialise, because being elderly and blind, he was a bit cut off. My dad was assessed by social workers several times, usually asking the same question over and over again. I always asked to sit in on the assessment because I found that my dad would tell them, oh, Rian can do that, or yes, we are coping. Well, we were only coping because I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and not getting to bed until 2 in the following morning. One of the suggestions the social services came up with was to send him to a daycare centre so that I could have some respite during the day. I said, well, we'll try it and see. And they spent most of the morning, the gentlemen were reading the newspapers. Well, my father was registered blind, so he just sat there, but because they were reading, nobody spoke to him. If they suggested he went to the ladies' group, they were talking about soap operas and knitting, which he knew nothing about. And every afternoon, they played bingo. Well, he couldn't do that because he couldn't see the numbers to play, to mark them off. So he did it for a few weeks and he wasn't too bad. Then he became quite agitated and aggressive in that he wouldn't speak to me the night before I was taking him to the daycare centre. He wouldn't speak to me on the journey there, and all he'd say was, be here at 4 o'clock on the dot. So I'd then go off, I'd come back at 4 o'clock. If I was a minute late, it was like the end of the world. He wouldn't speak to me then for the rest of the evening other than yes, no, well, you took me to that horrible place, because he hated it. He felt more isolated there than if I'd actually left him at home on his own for 8 hours. So after a while, I spoke to social services and I said, I don't want him to go anymore, because I said I can't put up with his aggression and unhappiness.
All carers are entitled to a carers assessment under UK legislation.
I think assessors need to be really careful to focus on the individual service user at the beginning to try and work out what it is they want, what the relationship is like with the carer, whether actually the carer has taken over the voice and has opinions which the service user doesn't actually share. And people should be spoken to separately on most occasions to make sure that the stories match. Crucial differences are the focus on outcomes rather than needs. And it's not about what you need in order to do something or what you can and can't do. It's about how you want to live your life, what you want to be able to achieve, and what gets in the way of that.
Thank you to everyone who took part in the peer support groups at WECIL and their supporters, Anna Wheeler and Valentina Cavallini. A special thanks to Nathan Hill for the graphic design, the research team at Norah Fry Centre for Disability Studies, University of Bristol. Our advisory group members from Bristol Disability Equality Forum, Compass Disability, Families Leading Planning, the Foundation for People with Learning Disabilities, the Alzheimer's Society and the School for Policy Studies. A special thank you to the social care practitioners who took part in this study, to all the disabled people who were assessed and to our workshop participants. Finally, we're very grateful to our funders, the School for Social Care Research, for their generous support of this study. However, the views expressed in these videos are those of the research team and the WECIL group and not necessarily those of the NIHR, SSCR, NHS, the National Institute for Health Research or the Department of Health. For further information about the research, please see www.sscr.nih.ac.uk/publications.php or www.bristol.ac.uk/SPS/research/centres/Norah Fry Research.